Hello everyone and welcome back to a new league racing video, and today marks the start of a new championship in RTA Virtual Motorsport. A few weeks ago, Dylan McClemens wrapped up the championship in the LMP2 Cup around Interlagos, and today we are back in Brazil for the opening round of this F4 championship. Going from closed wheel to open wheel, so hopefully this can maybe suit me a bit more, but we'll have to wait and see. For anyone that's new here, just taking a look at the format that is run in RTA. First up, it's 15-minute open qualifying session, so everybody's out on the track at the same time, and then that sets the grid for the first race, which is 10 minutes long. The results from race 1 then set the grid for race 2, which is 15 minutes, and then finally race 3, which is 20 minutes long, with the grid set from the results of race 2, with the difference of the top 8 being inverted. So if you win race 2, you will start race 3 in 8th place. Something to note is that all 3 races carry equal points, so there's no difference between winning race 1 and winning race 3. We'll take a quick look at the calendar for this season and before we get fully into qualifying. Obviously starting here for round 1 in Interlagos in Brazil, before moving on to Donington, then the Red Bull Ring and Road America. Staying in North America then for the Circuit Shield Villeneuve in Montreal, before heading back to Britain for Silverstone, then over to Germany for the Nürburgring, before rounding out the championship in Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. So a very good calendar, a lot of tracks that I do like and I feel that I'm fairly comfortable at. The only one that I've never raced at is Donington, which is round 2, and luckily there is a drop round in this championship, and I was going to just skip Donington, but I think I'm going to get the track and give it a go for round 2. So we're well into qualifying here now in Interlagos. Set one good flying lap, set another one now to 135.0, and the one before this had an invalidation out of the final corner, which is a bit frustrating. But through the Senna S's turn 1 and 2 and now turn 3 of Curva de Sol, important to get a good exit as a long run down this Reta Aposta straight into the turn 4-5 sequence of the Cida del Lago. Turn 4 here, probably the corner I struggle with most on this track. Very easy to lose the rear end and just go for a spin, because now we're flat out through turn 5, up the hill, the Ferradura of turn 6 and turn 7. Another tricky section of corners, and it's important to get on the power nice and early to carry the speed, as now we get into the really twisty section of turn 8 and turn 9. Getting on the power really early on the exit of this left-hander as we head back up the hill a bit into another right-hand hairpin of turn 10. Again, important to get a good exit as we now go flat out through turn 11. Easy flat out in these cars, even in the dirty air of the cars ahead. And now into the famous Jump Cow, probably the most important corner on this track, as the exit sets you up along the straight to the finish line. Notice that throughout this lap was very close to Sergey ahead, and that was something that was noticed in practice, that the slipstream around this track can be very important and gain you a lot of time, and slipstream gain is more than the dirty air loss as you come across the line, set at 134.720, which puts us in P11 provisionally. After that I took a cool off lap and we're going again here, but unfortunately through turn 4 just getting on the curb a bit too much there and going for a spin. After that I reset to the pits and going for one more lap in qualifying. But unfortunately, I don't think the tyres were really up to temperature as through turn 6 and 7, and now through 8 and 9, just losing a lot of time. And since I won't have a slipstream either on the run up to the line, I decided to just call it quits for qualifying. So in the end, we finished in P14, about 8 tenths off pole position of Jason Smith. And I think there was a little bit of time in the lap, but probably only a tenth or two, so maybe 1 or 2 positions at most. So I think I extracted the most I could from this qualifying session, as very close throughout the fields, top 20 up, separated by only a second pretty much. So maybe that's a sign of things to come, and it's going to be a very close race and a very close championship this season. So as we wait for the lights here for the first race of this championship here in RTA, standing start in the open wheel cars compared to the rolling start we had last season in the LMP2 Cup. But we're underway here now at Interlagos, and decent start. We don't gain anything, but we don't lose anything either. Move to the right hand side, have the outside line through the Senna S's. I felt it would have been a better position to avoid anything that happens. As I say that, something does happen on the exit of turn 2. A few cars caught in an incident there. And luckily we managed to avoid it. Did hit some debris, so just had to make sure it didn't have any damage, which luckily I didn't. So managed to avoid that, get a nice clean start and move up a few places. As now we're behind Teo, I'm not really sure which pronunciation it is. But we raced against him in the Motorsport Ireland F4 Championship a few months ago. So I know he's a quick driver, and hopefully we can try and work with him now for the rest of this lap to catch back up to the train ahead and reform the slipstreams, because it's very important to have the slipstream around this track. Had a bit of a look into turn 5, but wasn't really going to try and go around the outside there on lap 1 with cold tyres. I just don't think it would have worked very well, and he closed the door on us on the outside anyway, so luckily we managed to keep it on the track there as well and not lose any time or any positions. Coming out with John Cow now on the run up the hill. We're in the slipstream of Teo, and he's a bit out of the slipstream of the cars ahead, and you can see there in the chat up at the top of the screen, he said let's push, so I was going to work with him. You could see I was pulling him out of the slipstream, but the slipstream is just so powerful in these cars in this track for this race that on the run into turn 1 I had a good enough run that I was able to get the move done, and now hopefully I can try and catch back up to Sean McGoldrick ahead of us now and get his slipstream and just drag us all along. But on the exit of turn 3 down the Retta Aposta, Teo gets a good run on me, so I go a bit defensive to the left hand side into turn 4, braking late enough but not too late to run off the track, as now we're side by side. Teo is just ahead I think on the right hand side, as now Kevin Joyce behind in the mirror in Teo's slipstream gets a good run. I thought about holding it around the outside here, but I tried to tuck back in behind Teo. Get a bit of a tap from Kevin behind, and now he has a look into this right-hander. Gets the move done, but on the exit, I go for a spin, and at the time I didn't know if I was after getting a tap from the car behind Kevin. I think it was Brian McCarthy, but looking at a replay here now, you can see that there is the slightest bit of contact between Brian's front wing on my right rear tyre, which sends me into a spin. I think I was coming back into the track to open up the next corner, while Brian's speed from the previous corner was bringing him towards me. So, racing incident there, not really anything either of us could do. So, an unfortunate incident there, dropping us out of the battle for the top 10. But at the end of lap 2 now, Zhao just ahead. I think he had a bit of an issue on the exit of Zhongkao, so he gets a bad run on the start finish straight. Managed to pull alongside, but then we don't have the slipstream into turn 1, so it's a bit more of a battle. Try and brake late around the outside of turn 1, but unfortunately go for another spin. I don't know, that could have been due to my tyres being overheated from my earlier spin, but just didn't have the grip going into turn 1, and we go for another pirouette at the start of this season. End of lap 3 then, another issue for someone else running onto the start finish straight. Jared Thornton getting past him, he ran off the track, so a nice easy one for us. Then a couple of laps later on lap 6, managed to catch up to the cars ahead, and now through the Senna S's on the exit. Dermot was having a look to try and overtake Emma, so he didn't get a great run there. We get a much better exit through turn 2 and turn 3 on the run down now to turn 4. Bit more speed, have the outside line, and as we brake for turn 4, we brake nice and late. Dermot defends on the inside, he leaves us room on the exit, and we managed to hold it just around the outside of turn 4. And now up into turn 5 we have the inside line, and we're going to get that move done. So very fair and respectful racing there between myself and Dermot. I feel like he was someone that I recognised in the LMP2 Cup. That was somebody that we could race very fairly with, so nice to see it's carrying into this championship as well. As now we continue on this lap, and up ahead 2 cars go for a spin, and then Emma right in front of us goes for a spin as well. Dermot goes off
Clear.
the track, and luckily myself and Dermot managed to avoid it. Unfortunate for the two that crashed, and then unfortunate for Emma going for a spin as well. Probably just caught out by the incident ahead and then broke and ended up spinning in reaction to that. But luckily for me, it does mean that I'm going to gain a few more positions, and we cross the line to finish race 1 in P16 for a pretty decent recovery drive after the first 2
There's the
laps.
flag. It's over.
So it was P16 then, around 30 seconds behind Jason Smith, who won, followed by Rory O'Shea, and then Ronan Doherty rounding out the podiums in race 1. Not a terrible result, but still not great considering I lost a few positions, and Theo and Kevin, who I was fighting before I had that spin, finishing in P10 and P11. So I feel like I could have finished around those positions as well, possibly getting a top 10 finish. But I thought my pace was pretty good in that race, so hopefully that can carry into race 2 and we can move up a few more places. So waiting for the lights now in race 2 here at Interlagos from P16 where we finished race 1 obviously, and the lights go out and we get a pretty decent start, about the same as the last race. Unfortunately on this occasion we're not able to get to the outside line, which I really wanted to do. Into turn 1 it does mean we have the inside line and we're able to try and make a move on the car that is alongside us, that being David Prunty, at the exit of turn 2 through turn 3 onto the red Costa. We get a better exit and we managed to get that move done. Still in the slipstream of the cars ahead, which is pretty vital, and hopefully we can try and close that gap throughout the rest of this race. Looking in the mirror now, you can see behind, I think that was Andrew Murphy in the yellow car, going for a big dive on David, just about missing the back of us, so got a bit lucky there as we skip ahead to the end of lap 1, starting lap 2 now. Big group of cars fighting ahead and into turn 1. Have a bit of a look around the outside of Luke Cooper, who is a very quick driver, as is his brother Jason Cooper, who is now behind us, who got a much better run through the open a few turns and now into turn 4. I knew he was very quick, so I kind of left the inside line open, let him have the space, and hopefully we can try and follow him through, and maybe he can make a couple of moves and put some drivers off their line. We can take advantage of that. So continue on now into turn 5 in just a sea of blue cars ahead of us. It seems like half the grid was in a blue car. It's into the hairpin now. I think Luke might have been letting his brother pass there. We managed to sneak down the inside, round the outside of this left hand hairpin, then getting on the power nice and early on the exit, which turns the inside line for this right hander, and we managed to get the position up into, I think that is I think it might be P14 now, it might still be P15. Into Zhongkao now, trying to get a good exit, and hopefully we can try and get involved in the fight with Jason, TJ and Brian ahead, as we're well in the slipstream of these cars. Trying to time the slipstream right, because you don't want to catch up to them too quick, but you want to make sure that you're alongside or ahead going into turn 1. I think that's Brian at the front going defensive, as TJ goes alongside him, and then Jason trying to have a move there too. TJ goes a bit wide, it puts Jason off his line. We try and get a bit of a move. Unfortunately we run a bit wide, as does TJ, so we both get a bad exit, and the two cars behind us, Luke and David, get better runs than us. Luckily we have the slipstream, it's very close quarters on the run down into turn 4. Under braking then, we brake nice and late, lost space in front of us, but we just have to run wide there, as I think that was Brian running even further wide, having a big moment. So chaos unfolding here in Interlagos, as running up to turn 5 now, we're 3 wide. I backed out of that because I did not want to get involved. I think David backed out as well, so we were both waiting for each other to go through there, as Luke makes the most of that and gets past or ahead of the two of us. We managed to keep position ahead of David, and we are now still behind Luke, as I think we've moved up into P14 now. I think as Rich Murphy thankfully gets out of the way there. Unfortunately he must have had some kind of incident in the opening laps and is a lap down, so it's always nice when the back markers, or those who have at a few incidents get out of the way of these kind of battles. As I know there's some people in league racing and in official races who just they go by what the racing code says, that you don't have to get out of the way for blue flags, but it's always courteous to do so. As ending lap 3 now, still well within the slipstream of Luke Cooper into turn 1. Not as much chaos unfolding ahead with battles this time as there was in last lap. It all seemed to have calmed down a slight bit, and that can either make it easier or make it harder to try and get a move done, but definitely makes the whole race a bit safer. After all the battling I was doing, just making sure I didn't have any damage to the car, which I don't, thankfully. As into turn 4 on lap 4. Brake at a normal braking point, but Luke ahead of us, I don't know if he was braking early or what, but I just got a bit caught out by his slower speed than what I was doing. Ended up having to slam on the brakes to avoid him, go for a spin, and then I think it was David who collected us. He just had nowhere to go to avoid my spinning car, and then we have the meatball flag for damage, and we're going to have to pit. So I managed to make it back to the pit lane, and we're going to get this damage repaired. Luckily, fast repairs are enabled in RTA, so we can get this service done pretty quickly without losing too much time. As we rejoin the track, I think it's in P24, just behind Jared Thornton. And very unfortunate about that incident, because just like in race 1, we seem to have pretty good pace and could have made up a good few more positions. And we're sent back down the field again. As into turn 5, we have a bit of a look on Jared. Tyres were a bit cold after going slower through the pits, so wasn't too confident of getting that move done. As through these couple of hairpins now, Jared, he was a bit all over the place, to be honest. I wasn't really sure where he was going, and I seemed to have a lot more pace than him, so wanted to get the move done, but wanted to do it safely as well. I think we're going to have to wait until the main pit straight to get it done into turn 1 with the help of slipstream. But as I was saying, yeah, just unfortunate incident once again. I seem to have good pace. I'm going to have to try and recover now to have a good start position for the final race of this round of the championship. Out of Junkow there, Jared didn't have a great run onto the pit straight, and we managed to get alongside. And this is just like I said a few laps earlier, that you need to time the slipstream. We didn't manage to time it right, and that means we didn't get the slingshot that we wanted into turn 1. And we're 3 wide there for a second, and unfortunately I don't know if there was contact or not, but Jared ends up going for a spin as Simon Hutchins, who made it 3 wide there into turn 1, managed to get a better run on me and gets that place. Goes a bit defensive into turn 4, and I had a run there, but I decided not to go for it. Said I'd just stick behind for now. Maybe he has good pace and he could drag us along, and if not, we can try and get the move done. Through turn 4 and 5 there. Through turn 4 into turn 5. Maybe that is turn 5, maybe this is turn 6. I'd be getting it wrong all this time, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. But we got a bit of a run up the hill there. Wasn't going to try and go for a move. And yeah, just like with Jared on the previous lap, want to get this move done, but want to get it done cleanly and safely as well, because I've had enough spins already in these 2 races. I don't particularly want any more, and really just want to try and make up a few positions. Skip ahead a lap later then, and we're still in the same position just behind Simon, as Zhao just up ahead had a bit of an issue on that lap, so we managed to close the gap to him. It's on the exit of Junkow, the last corner. Simon doesn't get a great run, had a bit of a snap, and we have a lot more speed, but once again not really able to time the slipstream properly, and we don't have the overspeed that we really need to get the move done before turn 1. As we set my fastest lap of the race and into turn 1, going to try and get it done around the outside, but Simon defends as well on the inside. We have a better line through the Senna S's then, and going to try and get a better exit down the Retta Pasta. Not the greatest run, but still better than Simon's, especially with the slipstream. And now we're going to go down the inside into turn 4, braking as late as I dare without running too wide, because I want to leave Simon room on the exit to try and defend that. But luckily we managed to get that move done and move up into 22nd place. But unfortunately, at the start of the very next lap, once again into turn 1, going to undo all my hard work as we just carry a bit too much speed, have a bit of a slide, and Simon managed to get that place back once again. Luckily for myself, Zhao has a bit of a spin on the exit of Zhongkao at the end of that lap, so we lost one and gained one on that lap. And with just one lap left, there was a crash with some of the front runners on the last lap of that race, so we gained one more position and we're going to finish race 2 in 21st place. So it was actually P20 I finished in the end. There must have been some kind of issue with the overlays that I was using, and very disappointing result, to be totally honest. When you look at the results, TJ Taff and Luke Cooper, those are some of the guys I was fighting with before I had my first spin, and they finished up in P9 and P11. So just like in race 1, I think there is a case to be made that I could have been fighting for a top 10 in this one, and instead of down in P20. So again, feel like the pace is there, just need to try and be a bit more consistent and try and get a good result in the final race here in Interlagos. So for the final time from Sao Paulo, waiting for the lights to go off from P20 on the grid. Last season's LMP2 champion Dylan McClellan starting just alongside us in P21. As we get about our average start for these 3 races on the run into turn 1, Dylan gets a much better start as we have the inside line, and the Antrim man manages to get a move around the outside of turn 1, turns to the inside for turn 2 and gets the move done. Finley Melvin just up ahead in the red car, didn't get a great run there, so managed to get in the slipstream of him, as Zhao behind is looking very aggressive. It's into turn 4, have the outside line, as Zhao goes for a big dive down the inside, gets it all wrong, and I don't know if I just saw that going to happen out of the peripheral in my rear view mirror, but I was almost expecting to have to turn right and go off the track there to avoid a big collision. Luckily we managed to avoid it, don't have any damage, but we do lose a lot of positions in that. I think we're down to possibly second last on the grid now after starting P20. So luckily we managed to avoid any damage, as nearly run into the back of David Prunty ahead of us there. As I was saying, luckily we managed to avoid any damage, but we lost so many positions on the start there. It's going to be a mountain to climb now to try and get back to a decent finishing position. We cut ahead to the start of lap 2 now, because I've noticed that this video is getting very long. We send it down the inside of David, as there's a big incident in turn 1 and turn 2. There's cars all over the track. Luckily we managed to avoid it all, but the run we get through the opening section of corners is abysmal, and David managed to get back alongside us. Here's the slipstream of, I think that's Rich Murphy ahead, and Zhao is having a look down the inside, and just like on the first lap he goes for a big dive, and I was staying well out of the way of that. I didn't want to be another victim of a big crash. Rich Murphy doesn't get a great run there, we're side by side, and then we managed to pull ahead before the right-hander. And yeah, we managed to make up a good few positions there because of that big crash. Don't really know what happened, but luckily we managed to avoid it all, and we're still facing the right direction and moving up a few positions. Skipping ahead a bit once again, and Zhao didn't have the best exit out of the final turn. We get a good slipstream, and now we're pulling alongside, taking the outside line for turn 1. We managed to pull ahead, and we break our normal braking point, leaving room on the inside, and he manages to get the move done again through turn 2. We don't get a great run on the exit and through turn 3, but he doesn't have the slipstream, I have the slipstream, and I'm going to try and get a move done into turn 4. To be honest, at this point I was frustrated with how my races were going, and I feel like he had a few aggressive moves during this race, so make a little bit of contact there, just banging wheel to wheel. Don't think there was really anything in it. I managed to stay on the track nicely, and yeah, don't really think there was anything in that. Luckily wasn't reported or anything, just fair hard racing, and we move up into 26th position. Closing out lap 4 then, starting lap 5, I set another fastest lap for myself. And once again, more issues in turn 1 and turn 2, more cars off the track, upside down, all over the place really. I managed to gain another few places, and because of that we are right back in the slipstream of a few cars. Side by side with David Prunty now, as Andrew Murphy is just ahead of him into turn 4, braking nice and late. At the inside, David managed to carry the speed and hold it around the outside. Now we stay to the left hand side. Not really going to be able to make a move into turn 5, but he covers the inside anyway and holds it nicely. As now Zhao is having another look up my inside and again diving down the inside of this right hander. Luckily it turns to the inside for me through this left hander, but you're able to carry a lot of speed on the outside line, and we're side by side once again into this corner right here. Again, getting on the power nice and early, hoping to just be side by side on the exit. Luckily we are at the inside line for this long left-hander, and I managed to keep that position. And luckily, even with that fighting, I managed to stay in the slipstream of David ahead. Managed to stay there then for about a lap and a half, 2 laps, as now we caught up to the group ahead. As Dermot runs a bit wide in the green car, we have a look down the inside of this right-hander. He carries the speed around the outside and then into lifts left-hander. Dermot, I don't know really what he was doing, to be honest. In my opinion, he was well off the racing line, and I feel like he turned right when he should have been turning left. Kind of blocked myself. Didn't really have any time to react to that then. Ended up getting damage to my front wing, and that is going to cost me a bit in downforce and in top speed for the rest of this race. Luckily we were able to stick with the cars ahead, mainly just because they were fighting, and meant I was able to stick in the slipstream. Speaking of slipstream, we're right behind David Prunty now, and I wasn't going to try and go for a move. I thought he might be able to pull me along and we could both catch up to the cars ahead. So even though I'm looking to the outside line now and in the slipstream, I'm not really going to go for a move. So I lift off nice and early, but I don't lift off or brake early enough, and I crash into the back of David, and that is my race.
You've got some damage, let's get that fixed.
So after that I did retire from the race, DNFing and getting nothing from race 3. David manages to recover up into P18 if I got these results right, so at least he was able to get something from this race after I basically took him out. For that incident I did get a penalty, which is more than fair. Obviously I wasn't intending to, just misjudged, trying to slow down a bit too casually into turn 1, and obviously running into the back of him wasn't anything he could do, and the penalty is more than fair. So looking at the standings then, the winner from race 3, Rory O'Shea, leads the championship, and myself down in P29 with -3 points after getting that 15-point penalty and only being able to gain 12 points through the other 2 races. Obviously very disappointing, going to be starting out round 2 in a worse position than we started round 1, but it is a long season, a lot of tracks that I do enjoy racing at, and I felt like my pace was pretty decent. Not obviously good enough to fight for the wins, I don't think, but I feel like we can fighting for top 15s, and then if all things fall our way, maybe a top 10 here and there throughout the rest of the season. But that is it for this episode of round 1 of the RTA Virtual Motorsport F4 Championship. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe before you go. But until the next one, slán go fóill agus bí go maith.